So my name is Danielle Devine. I am the executive director of Help One in East New York. I have the privilege of running an excellent team that is pioneering one of our landmark, affordable, supportive housing complex. Thank you for everyone in the panel, especially Mr. Harden. He's over there. He's our star. And he is ultimately the reason why we do all this work that we do, without a doubt. Our next session is grounded in stories like Mr. Harden's. No Address is a powerful motion picture that sheds light on the reality of homelessness in America. Starring Beverly D'Angelo, Ty Pennington, Ashanti, and Billy Baldwin, whom Help will honor for his involvement with the movie and advocacy work at the 40th anniversary kickoff dinner on June 12th. The film was produced by Robert Craig Films and is part of the suite of media created to increase public awareness and inspire policy solutions to homelessness crisis. The book inspired by the movie is available at the Upstream Book Nook, so make sure you stop by and get one in the lobby. Our spotlight discussion speaker, Jennifer Stolo, CEO of Robert Craig Films, must sign it, if you ask nicely. Jen is joined today by Keith Dietrich, President and CEO of The Gathering Inn, who served as a consultant on the movie. Please give your attention to the brief trailer from the movie before they get started.
Hello? Jane? Why is my stuff out here? Come on, please, let me in! You have to! I have nowhere else to go!
For many out on the streets with no address,
Hey, beautiful.
when the hope dies, it's hard to be found.
Are you okay?
Nah, I really should get going.
Are you sure you got somewhere to go?
You could try to kick me when I'm down. It ain't gonna break me.
I'm working on this huge deal, and if I pull it off, our problems will be gone.
We need to deal with these now.
No, please.
You can say what you wanna, cause I'm still here.
Have you seen him?
Was that Joey she was looking for?
I've got a new family now, okay?
You're worthless! Get out of my house!
People who actually care about me.
I'm not giving up on you.
I'm not giving up on him!
You get these people off our streets now!
It's not that simple.
They're human beings. Where are they meant to go?
I don't know how much longer I can do this.
This is my home.
Your gambling and incompetence is what got us here.
We've all fallen short and lost our way.
Look, I believe in second chances. Follow me.
You don't fight this alone. You don't fight this alone. You don't fight this alone.
You never know in life why things work out the way they do. Never give up.
Thank you. For those of us that do this work every day, that trailer is not shocking, right? It's somewhat familiar. If I've learned one thing in my career, I've learned that statistics are important and they do matter, but stories really make the difference. They inspire people, they make people act, and that is really the journey that Robert Craig Films embarked on when we started this company. It was really to create social impact films, films that really are able to touch audiences in a different way, to bring about compassion, generosity, and more empathy for all of the audiences in the communities that we live. And this was our most recent project around homelessness. And people ask all the time, what inspired us to make this movie? What set us on this journey? Couple things happened. We were actually in the middle of making a completely different movie. And this script came into our hands, and we were just so moved by it. We were so moved by it as producers, as crew, as people that work within our business, because we'd been touched by it in many different ways. Myself, for over the last 10 years, my family and I have been intimately involved in volunteering and being a part of the shelter system that is in our county. We are from California. We're a California-based company. Keith Dietrich, that I'll introduce here in a minute, was a production consultant along this journey. And so for me, it was something that was very close to my heart. For Robert Craig himself, he was an avid volunteer, very involved, in fact, in his church ministry around homelessness, and just had a deep care for helping those in the community. And so it really touched his heart as he read the script as well. And I think as we continued the conversations with our other producers, one of them actually began to shed light about her journey as someone that had lived experience. We had never known this about her. We had known her for many, many years, and she decided that this is a time that she needed to bring her story to life. So it touched us in so many incredible ways that we really felt like this is what we needed to do. This is a topic that is important in our country. It's an American crisis. It's a conversation that needs to be elevated, and that is what our company and our film business is about, is sparking those conversations that need to be had. So as we embarked on this, we thought about, how do we do this with the cast that you just heard? Including Billy Baldwin, who's very close to this organization. And how do we do this in a way that it's authentic, right? That we showcase the bleak realities of homelessness, but we also show the hope and the redemption. And how do we do this in a unique way? So we decided to bring along some production consultants, Keith Dietrich being one of our main ones, to really work with the cast and the crew in order to make sure that authenticity was revealed in this movie. It's a fictional movie, but it's based on true events, ones that we as producers and our director embarked on. And certainly Keith Dietrich, who actually runs a number of programs up in the Northern California area and has local, regional, and national experience. We brought him on board. So I'll let you take it away, what you did with our phenomenal cast and crew.
Man, well, thank you so much. It's been a crazy ride, actually. Robert Craig Films, he walked into my office about 2.5 years ago, and he says, I want to make a movie about people experiencing homelessness. And I thought to myself, probably walk him through an encampment. Maybe he's got an 8mm camera, and that'll be it. And 2.5 years later, national release, blockbuster movie, and his passion for this issue was readily apparent. And when I was asked to come on to help with the authenticity side of it, I learned that there was going to be one of my favorite actors of all time, and you did not mention him, was Xander Berkeley. I don't know if you guys know Xander Berkeley, but his claim to fame is he's been killed more in Hollywood movies than any other actor ever. And you can actually go to YouTube and type in Xander Berkeley death reel, and it's a compilation of all those death scenes. So he's actually my favorite, but Billy was second. Even though I do love Billy. But the interesting thing when I walked them, so part of the experience was they wanted to be as authentic as they could in the roles that they were assuming, right? So I walked them through encampments throughout Sacramento a number of days. And the one thing that really struck me about each and every one, and I personally walked Ashanti through, Billy through, Xander through, was how they really, really cared. And I didn't know if I was expecting that so much from Hollywood actors. They actually stopped and actually had long conversations with people on the streets in the encampments. I mean, in-depth conversations. And before we even got started on the first day, Billy got us all in a circle and said something to the effect of, what we're going to experience today is going to profoundly change our lives. And I really think that for the actors in this film, it became more than just another Hollywood movie. It actually became a passion project for them. And that was so heartfelt for me to see. And we're going to talk a little bit about media and a little bit later on in this conversation, but just that personal connection that the cast had to the people that I introduced them that were on the streets was really touched my heart. And then part of the authenticity also was for the crew and the cast to go nationally. And I'll let Jennifer talk a little bit about, they went on a bus tour, I think it was 18 states, 20 different cities across the United States to learn more about the issue, to really understand it from a ground level. So I'll turn it back over to you.
Yeah, so, you know, as Keith mentioned, the cast just 2.5 years ago, you know, and they are in the media to this day, strong advocates of the work that they learned about, you know, in this journey. And as we began to set stage for filming, you know, we all kind of thought, I wonder if we should look at this outside of California. We know California well. You know, on average, 187,000 are experiencing homelessness. 24% of this entire country, that's 1/4 of the homeless population is in California. And as we saw, you know, what happened where we are near Sacramento, certainly San Francisco, 78,000 I think today in LA County, and I'm sure more after these LA fires, we thought, you know, it's important for us to journey across this country and really understand and experience what's happening all across the globe. And so, yeah, crazy as it was, our team took a bus tour to 20 major cities with high levels of homelessness, 18 different states, and engaged with number of people from all different levels, which turned into about 175 interviews from people experiencing homelessness, to people that were formerly homeless, to shelter directors, to policymakers, to leaders in the community, heads of national nonprofits like Salvation Army and Citygate Network, local nonprofits, to really understand what's working, what's not working, and how we got here as a country. And that bus tour was really supposed to be about research. It was really supposed to be about a true understanding for cast and crew and producers and all of us to really understand how, again, we make sure that this fictional movie, Hollywood movie, is authentic. And it ended up being a profound experience. And what it took us to was an actual documentary. We came back, this was supposed to be the making of No Address, really understanding and researching, but we came back, the experience that we had, the interviews that we had, the understanding that we gained of what's not working, which is usually what you see in a documentary, but what is working, solutions, organizations, nonprofits that just had amazing, amazing programs out there that we found it was our obligation, our responsibility to put that into a film. So here we were, set out to make No Address, and now we're coming back, the SAG strike hits, and we've got 6 months to do what? Well, I think we're going to edit a documentary, and that's what we did. So there is a documentary, Americans with No Address, as well. So that set us on an interesting journey because it began some national attention. Media everywhere. I felt like I had a camera in my face 24/7, and it really ended up being an interesting approach of how media looks at homelessness. As you all know, I'm not telling you things that you don't already know, right? But it was a very interesting way that I would engage with media and hear one side or the other. And there was always this interesting question that would come your way of in the lines of, well, you know, it's their responsibility. You know, there's so much crime here. It's about addiction, and there was this shift of like, it's their fault, and then there'd be the other shift of media perception that it's not, that there's barriers, right? There's systemic barriers here. And so it was always this interesting, I never knew what the question would be or what I'd be in front of, but I walked away from it going, wow, you know, the media perception really gives light to the way people behave and the way people see things and the way people judge, right? And that sent us on, you know, just kind of a new journey to really look at, I think, you know, Keith, you could probably talk to it about, you know, what you see in your programs and how we continued as we made this film to really showcase the human side. That was our goal, the human side of this situation and the barriers that these individuals have and how dignity is so important. And actually before that, I'll even give you one story that I always say that I think kind of shook me, in our journey. As we sat on the streets and talked to individuals, visited shelters, talked with leaders, and I was walking down the street one day, and there was a gentleman sitting on the curb, and he was reading a book. And I walked up to him and asked him what he was reading, sat down, talked to him, as we all know, right? It's all about engaging. It's not about enabling, it's about engaging. It's trying to find and understand the backstory of each individual so that we can help them in that journey back to housing. And so we had this wonderful conversation for about a minute or so, and I turned to him and I said, "Sir, what is your name?" And he looked at me like I had asked him the most difficult mathematical question there was. And I said, "I'm sorry, did I say something wrong? I just wanted to know your name." And he said, "No, I'm sorry. I cannot remember the last time that someone asked me my name." And it just broke my heart. I had volunteered many, many times in the shelters in my community, and I had not had that experience. And it reminded me that I needed to have more conversations on the streets and more understanding of the backstory of someone. Your experience, in what you do and the stories maybe that you have.
Yeah. So I've been listening to the conference here and focusing on housing, and housing is a really big piece of the equation, right? What I hope this movie addresses, though, is there's another big piece out there, in my opinion. It's the not in my backyard contingent out there. My organization's being sued right now because we're trying to establish a medical respite program that serves people experiencing homelessness being discharged from hospitals with cancer diagnoses and heart attacks and hip replacements, and the average age is 62 years old. And it happens to be maybe 1,500 yards from a school, and the school's suing us because these folks are going to be, of course, they're all pedophiles, right? And they're going to go out and they're going to abuse our children, and all this nonsense that you hear, all the scare tactics that are out there. And I think it comes from a place of, I'll say, ignorance to the issue, not understanding, not seeking to understand, right? And what I hope this movie can do is, when you look at the storylines, you've got the businessman that becomes homeless and the family. You've got somebody that was a veteran that ends up experiencing homelessness. You've got somebody that's fleeing domestic violence. You've got these different storylines, and I forget the exact statistic, but it's like 30 or 40% of people in this country know somebody who has experienced homelessness at one point in time or another in their lives. So what I'm hoping that this movie does is, on a national level, seek to educate people so that the initial reaction of not in my backyard at least comes to a point where it's maybe I'll seek a little bit more information before I judge, right? And I can actually see myself in Billy or somebody I knew. I can actually see myself in Ashanti. I can actually see myself in Ty Pennington, who's a person that's trying to help Jimmy improve his situation, another character in the movie. So that's what I hope this movie can do in a larger context, because you'll get media out there that seeks to help understand and puts out there, it's a housing issue, we need more treatment, we need all of these things. But then you get the ones that, did you know that homeless person accosted somebody or attacked somebody in the park last week? Like, the general population doesn't do that? And you have to point out that the person was experiencing homelessness? Like, really? people experiencing homelessness are no more likely to attack somebody than the general population, but yet you put that narrative out there and it fuels that NIMBY stuff. So that's what I hope the movie's able to do.
Yeah, and I'll just kind of wrap it up with the journey that we set on to create this movie, No Address, and as I said, led to a documentary. And from the documentary, many of the experts that we interviewed came forward and said, you know, about up to 60% of the organizations that are addressing homelessness are faith-based, and that's a community that you need to actually reach out to as well. So there's a study guide that we actually created with these incredible experts along this journey that's really for the faith-based community of how to engage rather than enable, and just an excellent tool. That led to a conversation with authors coming forward and wanting to write a book based on the screenplay, which is what you have out there at lunchtime. And it's another way to reach audiences. Ashanti came forward and said, hey, how about I do the audiobook? So there's an audiobook now for the book No Address. And it just kept going on and on and on because there's so many people out there that do care about this issue, do care about this subject matter, and do want the rest of the world to act and to engage and to be a part of the solutions. Our final piece was there's music always in a movie, right? Did we set out to make a soundtrack? No, but that's what happened because we got a phone call one day from Jay DeMarcus of Rascal Flatts, the band, and he said, I've got Red Street record label and I would love to actually partner with you, write a song for the theme song, and actually distribute this soundtrack because music is this universal voice for everyone to hear the message that you're trying to create, for the dignity for others, the humanity. This is the human side of this situation. And we need to look at it differently. We need to elevate the conversation. We need to change the narrative. And it's something that everybody can be a part of. At the end of our movie, there's a call to action because everyone out there can do something simple. You can give to an organization, you can volunteer, or you can simply stop on the street, look someone in the eyes and say hello to them and ask them their name because we all know they feel invisible, right? And we have to be the voice for the voiceless. So I'd like to end with just a quick clip from James from the Bowery Mission. And I know James, the CEO, is in the audience here from the Bowery Mission. But this is a part of our documentary, and I just love what he says, and I think it ties it all together here at the end.
40% of the people who are homeless, who are older than 50 years old, became homeless after they were 50. That's an American tragedy that's growing.
If you're in the public school system, you deal with children.
Or you're going to see the trailer, actually.
Every day.
This is an intentional policy decision that forced people into this community.
They had 10 city trucks, a dozen officers, and then as soon as they saw we were there filming, they stopped.
It is the worst drug that has ever been known to man. The psychosis had been so bad to where I didn't remember how many times I had gone into that store to do that exact same thing.
Our city made a mistaken decision to sue the lead charity who were caring for the homeless because they were feeding too many people on Sundays.
And that was where I started just questioning, like, wait, my tax dollars pay for these programs where county vehicles were going into the school grounds, handing out clean needles, sharp containers.
So many politicians talk about how much more money is being spent.
$400,000.
$250,000.
$700 million.
And the money?
We're spending 3 times more than we were 12 years ago. Yet, it's skyrocketed.
Homelessness feels one way when you're just talking about an issue. And then it feels totally different when you say, that's my friend. What in the world happened?
How can you walk by a homeless person and don't feel nothing? You're dead. You're just living, but you don't know much.
So the quote that James talks about, and he wasn't actually on that clip, was, "You never look down upon another human being, whether it be a man, woman, or child, unless you're looking down to lift them up." That was his quote. So, anyway. Grateful. Thank you, guys.
Okay. So, it's time for another break. Lunch break. But before we go on lunch break, I have to say something. What's her name again? Jennifer. Please, just wait for a minute. I just have to say that your story touched me so much. And it touched me because when I was 18 years old, I was working in outreach, and there was a homeless guy sitting on Pacific Street in front of the HRA Center. And my team and I were giving out flyers the entire day to promote employment program. And we walked past him for hours. And then the center was closing and we were about to wrap up, and I went over there to him and I touched his shoulder. And he said, "You see me? You see me?" And it changed my mindset about homelessness. And from that day on, I worked in homelessness. I've been doing this for like 27 years. And so I just wanted to share that story.
Thank you.